Gap. And you may wonder, where did you get that title from? Well, many years ago I lived in England. I was raised in Birmingham, and then I went to live in London. And in London we have we call it the tube, or the underground. And certain underground or metro stations, there was always a sign. It said, "Mind the gap." So you had to be careful as you walk off the train to make sure that you didn't fall down the gap. And so tonight, I think it's very meaningful to talk about minding the gap in terms of Black history. Before I begin, I would like to first honor the shoulders of thousands of people that we are standing on here tonight in terms of Black history. We stand on the shoulders of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had a dream. He looked over the mountaintop and his eyes did see the glory. Martin Luther King saw today. He saw the day where Black people, white people, people of every color and nation would be sat together in one place. And for him, that was the promised land. We stand on the shoulder of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was a lawyer, a barrister, an activist. But Nelson Mandela truly believed that the essence of Black people and our courage and our ability to stand as people with our talent and our skills was not that to diminish other people. We stand because we're people. We do not stand because we diminish anyone else. And we stand on the shoulder of Nyerere, or Nyerere, Julius Nyerere, the poet and the Tanzanian first Prime Minister, who believed in the concept of negritude. Negritude is the whole first understanding that we know of what Malcolm X called Black Power. So we stand on the shoulders of many people. We stand on the shoulders of the white lawyers in South Africa who stood with Mandela and for the fight. We stand with the nations of the world who boycotted apartheid. So tonight we take nothing for granted as we stand here and I give this speech, Mind the Gap. So when I talk about Mind the Gap, I think because we've been schooled in a Eurocentric system where the Black history has not been great, we've not had a chance to hear the Black history. And I just want to recap tonight that Black people have contributed to this world throughout the ages. Black people have been mentioned in the Bible. If you go back to the Genesis, and we remember Moses, Moses is talked about as the greatest biblical leader for the Hebrews and for Christians and for many people. But what is not explained in history, and the gap is, Moses was married to an Ethiopian woman, a woman of color, the darkest hue of black. So there we have it from the generations ago in the Bible. Moses married an Ethiopian woman, and she had 2 sons. So this is the Moses that God said, put the rod down and part the Red Sea. That Moses, when he went home at night, he went home to his wife, the black woman, the woman who was marginalized by others, the woman who wasn't accepted. So from generations, from biblical, we know that Black people have always been in history. But the history has been diminished, or the history has been set aside. So we're looking on Moses. And so the next thing in the Bible where Black history is so potent is the Song of Solomon. In the Song of Solomon, 1 verse 5, she said, look not upon me, daughters of Jerusalem, because I am black. I am black, but I am comely. I am black, but I'm beautiful. She stood out as a black woman, and she said, I am black, and I am comely. There's nothing wrong with my hair. There's nothing wrong with my posture. There's nothing wrong with my lips. I am black, and I am beautiful, and I do not apologize. And I think in the world that we're living now, it's really important for not just only black girls, black women, but white children, especially girls, to stand in themselves, stand in their courage, standing in their uniqueness as the people that God has created them for, and not wanting to conform. And the Queen of Sheba, when she visited Solomon, a woman of color, she was not diminished. She didn't bring a grocery bag, from Canadian superstore. She bought the riches. She bought in gold and everything that you could think of. So black people have always had a place in history of richness and opulence and intelligence. And if we go down then in the Bible, I'm staying with the Bible for a while, and we think of Jesus Christ himself, the Son of God. When he was under the weight of the cross, he could carry the cross no longer. Could no longer bear the weight of the cross. And the Romans said, and they pulled a man to help Jesus to carry that cross. That black man, Simon of Cyrene. So, every black man in this room tonight, wherever you sat, wherever you stood, there is anointing, there is a blessing, because you was the man that stood and came forward, or was pushed forward, to help Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, to carry that cross. So, black men, you're not diminished. You're from the time of Moses, from the time of Jesus Christ. These are the gaps in black history that is not written. These are the gaps that no schools will write. But you hear it from me tonight. So it's important in black history to mind that gap. Do not overlook and do not diminish the lives and the contribution of black people. And I go then to the New Testament before I finish this summary of the gap. These are the gaps. We have Paul of Tarsus, or in the Bible is called Paul. He said, I'm a Pharisee of Pharisees. That means he's an eloquent, it means he's educated. And when the Jews said to Paul, we will try you in Jerusalem, he said, no, we will not try me in Jerusalem. I will go to Rome to be tried. I'm a Pharisee of Pharisees. I'm a citizen of Rome. We are Canadian citizens. Many black people or people of color, you're not Canadian, you don't belong here. Well, when you're a citizen, you're a citizen. And Paul said, I'm a citizen of Rome. But there's racism in the world, and my job isn't to focus on racism. My job is to stamp racism on its head and grind it to the floor. I ain't got no time for it. But as black people, and in history, Paul the Pharisees, he said, God made of one flesh all men. It doesn't matter what the exterior is like. We are one race, the human race. In North America, people say, oh, we're interracial. It's an interracial relationship. There is no such thing. Because God made of one flesh all men. We carry the same blood in our veins, no matter what our exterior is. So in history already we have, in the biblical history, the representation of black people already through scriptures. And finally, I look at the Black Power movement then. There's Martin Luther King, there's Malcolm X, and we know them in our history. But a big thing which is overlooked, a massive gap in black history, is the whole thing of negritude. The whole sense of blackness. What is blackness? What is the value of a black person? The whole discourse began in Paris in the 1930s with the French, the Senegalese students, black students, and the students of the Caribbean, and they coined the term negritude. Negritude is about the value of a black person, the essence of a black person. The person is a person before they're black. And from there, Julius Nyerere, the Tanzanian poet and politician, developed a whole concept of negritude. But there is a gap, because for most people, they've never heard the word negritude. I came across the word negritude in the 1980s in London, when I was walking by something in the South Bank, and there was a presentation and the readings of Nyerere, the poet, and negritude. So negritude is what Malcolm X built upon. Negritude is what Martin Luther King built upon. The whole idea of black people as an essence of people and not an object of something, but the creation of God. So this is the gap that I've overviewed, and then I will move on I want to talk to each person in the room tonight on 3 areas in terms of not just black history, but of the history of us all sitting here, and black people and our contribution. I want to look at 3 things, discuss 3 things. One is salt, second is yeast, and the second is vision. And you say salt? What's the salt got to do with me? Well, salt is such a vital part of our lives. If we didn't have salt, we'd be very unhealthy. And Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth." If the salt loses its savour, what is it? It is only something to be put onto the rubbish heap. So I listened about the whole thing of salt. Salt has a function. All of us are born with function. All of us are born for a purpose. And then I thought, well, how can I explain that in a speech? And then I heard the black American actress, Essence, and it resonated with me. She said, as mothers, there's many of us in here tonight, we're mothers, or grandmothers, or we're waiting to be mothers. We're taught that when we're pregnant and we're pushing the child, we're bringing the child into the world, we're bringing the child. But she said, no, not at all. As mothers, when we're pushing the child, it's not a child. It's not just a child. The travail, the pain, we're bringing into the world, we're birthing purpose. We're birthing destiny. Every person sat down on a chair today has been birthed as destiny. You're birthed for purpose. You have a value. And so, salt is a very important thing. And anytime you go to pick up some salt in the future, think, I am born for a purpose. I am born for destiny. The woman who pushed me into the world, whether she's alive or she's not, she had birthed destiny. So what is my destiny? What is my purpose? And for every parent tonight in here that has a child of colour, and there's a challenge sometimes because they're diminished or they're pushed to the side, not because of who they are, but the exterior. It's really important to spend a little time, find a quiet place to remind yourself that this child is a child of destiny. You birth destiny. You birth purpose. And to remind the child, it's important. It's not the exterior of the child, it's the spirit of the child that matters. And so the second thing that I want to talk about yeast. Yeast. We all know what yeast is. We have yeast in our bread. We have yeast in different things. And now the scientists are saying that we should try and get some yeast, some live food, they're calling it. So what is the old thing about yeast? The parable of the yeast is the most shortest parable there is in the Bible. Only one sentence. Jesus said, even a tiny little bit of yeast, only a tiny little bit, it permeates the flour. So each and every one of us tonight, we're yeast. We're sent here for a purpose. We're here to make a contribution. Black history, we talk about Martin Luther King. We talk about Oprah. We talk about Du Bois. We talk about great people. But Black history is as much about us, the ordinary people, as it is about what we see as famous people. In Jamaica, it's the subsistence farmers. If you had no subsistence farmers, the country wouldn't have anywhere to feed its basket. It would need aid. So it's, when we talk about yeast, we talk about everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a contribution. And if we look at life, and we look at our life, and we think we're yeast, I'm yeast. Yes, you're here to impregnate something. You're here to make a difference. You're here to contribute. And if you look at the bread, when the bread is being made, the yeast is in the bread. The bread is going to happen, but the baker's stomping that, bashing it. And sometimes in life we think, God, please, for goodness sakes. But it doesn't matter. It's not the situation. Don't be caught out by the situation because you're yeast. Something is going on. Something is happening for you. So you think the bread is thinking, oh my God. I'm being pushed about and bashed about. And on top of that, they're going to put a piece of cloth over me and keep me in the total dark. Oh my God. Look what's going on. And then sometimes in life we get time. It's the time. It's the right time. Hurry up, hurry up. He's not telling you, I want this to happen. But no. There's a chief baker. And he's put you the yeast. And the plan is going to work out. It's going to happen. But it takes time. And we think, for goodness sake, what the heck? What's going on? But there's a scripture that says, be still and know that I am God. In that torment, what is happening? You're being formed. Something is growing. And then we have bread rolls. Can you imagine that? You're chopping me into tiny pieces of that, But you don't know that there's something going on. There's a process. So don't get caught up by the situation. This is a process. Something good is going to happen. Because the baker then puts us in the oven. And sometimes life feels like an oven. It feels awful. As we're never going to come out. But the baker's got his time, he's watching it. It's okay. And the next thing we know, it opens the oven and it comes out this beautiful bread. It smells nice. The whole room is amazing. Even if you don't like bread, it smells nice. The real estate agent just put some bread in. When you're selling your house, it smells that good. So when life kicks us, remember there's yeast. You're stronger than you think. And that is why we have the Mr. Mandela in the tiny little prison cell. He wasn't compounded by the prison cell because he knew about yeast. Mahatma Gandhi and the British colonizers abused abused India, abused the salt mines, abused the linen, took all the linen to be made in Bradford and built the wealth of the British. But Mahatma Gandhi, he knew about yeast. He knew it. He just knew it. And he knew that Mountbatten would be the last viceroy of India. Because India would take back and it would get its destination. So that is yeast. When you think about yeast again, think about something different. And the last thing I want to talk about is vision. Black people, we call ourselves I'm from what they call the African diaspora. And there are people from Africa who are African. But us from the West Indies, Guyana, all these things, we're Africans. But we have been dispersed all over the world. And one of the things that kept us together, because of the way that we were put or took apart, was our storytelling. And we love storytelling. In the Caribbean, we sit and we eat at night and we tell stories. We tell stories about the dumpy, about Mother and Nancy. Africans tell that story. But a key thing that I want to put across tonight and encourage is that amongst the diaspora and amongst Africa, we're to develop a culture of writing down our vision. Writing down our vision. The book of Habakkuk says, write the vision. Make it plain. Because if you write a vision, researchers and brain surgeons are now saying, neurosurgeons, if you write the vision, 80% likely that vision will be achieved. And then the tapestry of black history, which encourage our children to write their stories. We encourage them to find pictures and put on the wall. Write the personal vision. Write the family vision. Write the corporate vision. Make it plain so that he that heralds will run towards it. Our vision is important. I'm going to wrap up soon, but I first came into the idea of vision many years ago in England. The British government noticed in their statistics that black managers in government who are black, Indians, black, in Canada you say East Indian, in England we say Indian. So East Indian, nobody was reaching. We all got to the same place in Korea. The ceiling. As far as you're going to get if you're black. So the government said all the black managers gathered together in different parts of England. And the first thing that when I went to them was creating a vision board. She created a vision board. She said, what do you want to do? And I just thought, yeah, right. I said, I want to be a regional manager in England. That means I want to manage the province. Okay, she said, put it on the vision board, and I did. And I've got back my business. I wrote it down. Write the vision down and make it plain. So I wrote my vision down and left it. And I went for this job, I went for that job, I went for the other. Well, most jobs it said, thank you very much, Shirley, for coming for the interview. It was a strong field. You haven't got the job this time. That's fine. I'd written the vision down, I'd made it plain. I think I put it under my bed, I wasn't watching it. And then one day, my senior manager said, Shirley, there's a really big job in England. I went, yeah, I know. The field is really strong. That really means that if you're not going to get... She said, no. She said, go for the... I said, it's okay. Anyway, I went for the interview, and I'll never forget. But I remember I'd written the vision down, and I'd made it plain. And I was met by a British civil servant, crisp white shirt, and I said, good, really good. And I left, and I went back and I got a phone call on the way home. Shirley, Richard liked you. You're going to become the first regional manager in England for Yorkshire and Humber in the Department of Health. I thought this is a joke. But I've written down that vision and I've made it plain. But the book didn't say, write the vision down and then work out how you're going to get it done. And who's going to turn you down, what's going to happen to you, what's going to happen to you, who's not going to like you. It says, write the vision down and make it plain. Which I did. So I got that job in Yorkshire and Humber as a regional manager, and then they said, you know what, Shirley, we like you very much. You can go to manage in the Department of Education. So, okay. I was one of 8 people in the whole country of England. And then I said, okay, Shirley, we're going to push you now. You're going to go to the office of the Deputy Prime Minister in the regions. I'd written the vision down, and I've made it plain. Didn't know where it was going to take me. But if you have a vision tonight, when you go home, write it down, make it plain. If you got a napkin, write it on a napkin, make it plain, and give it up. And as black people, as white people, whatever people we are, we're the same. Because God made us one flesh, all man. Write the vision, make it plain. But for black people, one of the key things, I believe, is that we're missing from the modern history. We're very good with cultural things, but we need to keep on writing our visions, making it plain. Encourage our children to write the vision and make it plain. Because you don't know what day or what your child will be. Because remember, you did birth destiny. This is not a child. This is destiny. God has a plan for this child. Encourage the child to make the vision. Write it down and make it plain. So in conclusion, I want to say, if there's something you don't understand about black history, research it. There might be a gap. I would say we're the salt of the earth. We have proven ourselves as black people as the salt of the earth. When no one would carry the cross, we carried the cross. And then yeast. The situation might look dire. It might be, oh my God. But remember, there's a process. And the final thing of writing the vision and making it plain. And as I leave this speech, again I stand and respect all the shoulders that we all stand on tonight. As we enjoy ourselves, remember that people have given so much that we can be here. And that we're people of destiny. And that we're people of purpose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shirley, for giving us a little bit of more insight on what Black history is and